Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. I'm Bill McMinn, along with Eric Barfell.
It's me.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
I got the pronunciation right.
You did.
This time. See
nice.
that?
Nice.
Man, small things. I'm just so happy. Little victories. Anyway, I'm talking about cell phones today. What are some of the things I'm going to talk about? Things we like, things we don't like. I'm going to talk today about setting boundaries. I'm going to talk about what I think Paul might say, what Jesus might say, what Solomon might say about it, and just think through it. I don't know if there is any one answer or one thing fits all, when it comes to cell phone usage, but I do think it's something that we need to be thinking about. Now, what are some of the things, you like about whether it's cell phone or social media? I guess you could hit both. I
got my tried and true 2020 iPhone SE right here. What is it, like 3 models out of date now? So, right. Shows how important it is to me. But there's obviously a lot of great things to it. The connectivity, the direct access to quite literally unlimited information as far as the internet, all the social media stuff goes. The ins and outs. So no, it is great. What is weather? Oh, let me tell you, it's literally at the tip of my thumb right here.
Right.
All my works, emails, and everything, tip of my thumb. All my pictures from 5 years ago, I got it right here.
Right.
A lot of great sentimental value, personal value, work-related information, like everything.
Right.
It's all right there. So it is a huge win in that sense. But then when you have everything right there, why do you have to go to anything else?
Right.
And that's the problem I have with it is it sucks up so much of my time.
Right.
And the entertainment aspect of it, you can scroll. It's designed to capture your attention and floods your emotions because like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all these little videos, they're not but 10, 15, 20 seconds long. You watch 1,000 of them and it feels like 5 minutes, but like hours pass. It's like, okay, I've lost so much time and I have nothing to show for it.
And sometimes too, it's not only that, it could just be you're helping somebody or, going through and next thing you know, it's like, how did I get to 4 o'clock? What happened today? So yeah, you're kind of wondering about it. So I have my one buddy and he's been telling me lately, and I haven't actually heard from him as much either. I try to encourage him, when I can. We're pretty good friends, all from social media, by the way, which I think is one of the positive things about it, is it connects you with people who have like interests. And I think this has been a lot of fun on Instagram. There's a community of people you get to know. I have people sometimes I'll say something to out of California. There's people from all different places in Ohio and whatnot. And that's fun. That's the part I really super enjoy because I'm very social. Yeah. So the social aspect, I agree with you. I think having the weather right there, I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's
it was my
sweet.
birthday a few weeks ago, and my older brother FaceTimes me, and I can see him and my niece and nephew there, and it's like that much more enjoyable because it adds a whole nother sense to it. Not only can I hear them, I can now see them too.
Right.
And it's like I'm there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So in some senses, man, it is fantastic.
Right.
It's awesome. It's awesome that I can FaceTime. I can be on a video call with my mom, and she's 60 miles away, or my brother's even further than that with his kids. It's like this is special, actually. I think back to I've been referencing in the youth group the last few weeks, like our Zoom days. It's not at all what was intended for the church,
right?
But it worked for that time. It was kind of cool to have 50 people on a Zoom call and see them all. Granted, they were the size of a postage stamp on the computer there. It was like, looking back, it was terrible.
Depending on how many people are in, it gets smaller,
Right, when it's 5 people, it's not
the Brady
that bad.
Bunch gets bigger, it kind of, the squares get smaller.
No, last year, 2 years ago, I did a Bible study with both my brothers and my dad. And we all live in various places throughout Ohio, but we can all video call, and we're all right there, and we sit down for 2 hours and do this study, and it's fantastic,
which is cool.
Gotta go anywhere, yeah.
Which is good and bad. You know what I'm saying? The not going anywhere can be sometimes hinder relationships that are here. I like the photos part of it too, because I'm a big Instagrammer. So I like being able to take photos on my phone and being able to share what I see. I think that's a big part of one of the most helpful things in social media for me has been seeing where things are that I would have never known about. And whether that's Glacier Cave down in Twinsburg, or that was Tinker's Creek, the Great Falls of Tinker's Creek, and the Bedford Reservation, and so on and so forth. Like, there's a lot of places I would have never known anything about it.
Yeah,
and it's been cool to explore those places. So I like to do that same favor for others and put some of those pictures out there so they can see. I would say the downside, phones at dinners, phone use that makes others feel less important, because all of a sudden you're talking to somebody, they're looking at their phone. It's well, how important am I really, if you're sitting there looking at your phone the whole time? And there's addiction aspect to it. I think some interactions can lead to a bad place. I think there's times wasted you won't get back. So therefore I would recommend, like I did the other day, we'll look at your screen usage, because there's a little thing under settings, and you can go under there and it's screen usage. Now, I don't know if I trust it 100%, because it was saying that, like, I was on this one app, like X number of hours. I'm like, I wasn't even on it at all, but it must have been open or something. So I'm not sure
in the background or something.
Maybe
it was open, but you weren't actually on it or something.
Maybe. I mean, I knew it was wrong, because I'm like, I don't go there that much. And
I get mine every Sunday morning, and sometimes it's like, oh, your average usage is down 15%, and I'm like, yes, for a total of 8.5 hours every day. Holy smokes!
Right.
8.5 hours?
Right. That's what I'm wondering about, because they have it pegged right. Like, Instagram's the biggest thing I check. They said when you're picking up your phone, the first thing I'm going to look at is Instagram. And there's so much. I'm a moderator for a hub. Right. I don't look at Facebook that often. Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff I'm just not into. I'm super particular. I listen to music. I look at the weather. I text people. I look at Instagram and I talk to people there and stuff, and that's what I do. So I would say, that's the biggest thing. But then I was questioning the pickups. I'm like, well, how many times do you have to look at it a day? Like, could you cut down how many times you look at it? Or maybe you only pick up that phone, every so many minutes, or a certain time of the day, put it away. I think those would be good boundaries to set. Because let's face it, it's a problem. Can we just admit that?
Oh yeah.
It's a problem. And I'm saying it can be a problem for me.
Easily addicting.
Right.
And they know that.
We're all the same thing. I think too, another key I would give, look at your screen time. Look also, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Look at when you do your search especially for Instagram, like, let's say if you want to search one of your friends and, I want to look you up. Okay. So I'm gonna look up Ecosystem Eric, and I'm going to punch in the letters. Well, the first thing, like, when you go to that search and hit that search thing, it's going to come up. It's going to give you a whole grid of photos and reels and stuff like that. What's in that reels? Or in that photo grid? That's what you've been looking at. So for a guy, if that's full of a bunch of women with bikinis, well, what does that tell me? That I'm looking at a bunch of chicks in bikinis. I don't want to see that. Like, when I see my search engine, I want the search engine clean enough I can screenshot it and send it to somebody, which actually I did that the other day. I actually screenshot it and sent it because, well, this is what it is. And I was happy when I looked at it. Yeah, this is sunsets. This is hikers. There was nothing racy on there.
That explains why there's a bunch of dudes in their underwear on mine.
Just stop it.
Just kidding.
Oh my goodness! I'll be back in 5 minutes when I stop laughing.
I smiled while you said that. I was like, don't say it. My intrusive thoughts won.
That's hilarious.
I heard my buddy say that years ago.
Here's what I was thinking about. What would Jesus say? About cell phone uses. I was trying to think, what would Jesus say about this? And I think he would say, guys, as part of the end times. You know what I mean? That you see everything that's going on around the world. I would think that Christ would say, use it for good. I mean, we're supposed to lay up treasures in heaven. I think there's a lot of good things. You can promote righteousness. You can set a good example. There are a lot of good things that I've seen out of social media that's just a good example. Like, that person's really working hard at getting their house organized. That person's doing a lot of stuff in their yard. That person really serious about working out and staying fit. And, like, I've been highly encouraged by it. So I think that, I can set a good example, maybe try to find a way to be spiritual about it. Paul or Solomon, I think he would say in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And also Ecclesiastes 4:4, I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. And I think about one of the big drawbacks, I believe anyway, and you were saying earlier before we even started the show, that this cell phone use is causing in young people anxiety and depression.
Oh, yeah. In all ages. I mean, it is directly correlated with anxiety. It's directly correlated with depression. You get a lot of isolation. You get a lot of like social anxiety, as we were saying a minute ago off air. Like, young people especially I say that to single them out because they're the first generation who's truly growing up on the screen.
Right.
I didn't even get a phone until like an individual cell phone till 11th grade, 2011. I mean, at that point, everyone already had one.
Right.
Now, they weren't smartphones. You weren't as addicted and scrolling stuff, but like people were always texting and stuff like that. I mean, that was
T9. Remember that? Wasn't that like a certain?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Make it faster.
I mean, so your generation, I mean, I remember when my dad got a cell phone for the car. It was about this big, plugged into the cigarette lighter, this giant Velcro thing. It was like this big, you know. We would call mom, tell her we're on the way home from soccer practice. Right. It was awesome.
Right.
You could barely hear. It was like a dinosaur age walkie-talkie looking thing. Now, I mean, it's this little slim, it's brick really, but so it's crazy to see the evolution of it. So the young generation now truly is the first demographic in human history who is growing up on the screen.
Right.
We don't know the long-term effects. We have a strong guess based on the rather short-term effects.
Right.
The social, I don't want to say, not social awkwardness, the social anxiety that's involved because they don't know how to make friends. They don't know how to interact with people outside texting.
Topics.
Yeah.
Big topics, Eric. I mean, you're talking about not getting along, isolation, anxiety, depression. I will promise you, and parents, hear me out on this. I was not mature enough at 11, 12 to be having a phone. They say that half of the kids 11 years old have a smartphone. I was not mature enough to handle that at all. And if you would have put that phone in my hand, I cannot imagine the trouble we would have been in. But going back to what he's saying in Ecclesiastes, so much striving is after one person's envy of another. I fear the constant comparisons. In other words, oh, wow, I don't look like this. And this is true of adults or kids. I don't look like this. You know, I don't have this opportunity. How come they get to always travel? You know, I don't get to do those things. And you start getting jealous and envious and you start looking at your life and thinking it's not as good, where my whole mentality has been when it comes to social media and even photography, well, no, show how great Ohio is. Yeah, I don't live in the Rockies. I don't live in British Columbia and some of these killer places. Yeah. But, you know, there's beauty all around you and wherever you are. So my job is to showcase the beauty here. So I want to be satisfied with it. I don't tend to compare myself. Like for me, I'm not on there making comparisons, so I don't have the problem, but I do. But there are people who do, obviously.
But so you have obviously a nature photography kind of stuff. Do you have a growing wish list of places you want to now visit based on more pictures that you see?
I don't know. I mean, I saw Banff. I already wanted to go there recently. Iceland, I've been wanting to go to for a long time just because of the Aurora Borealis. I don't think so because I just have places. In other words, I have to go do a wedding for my niece. So I'm looking for places around there. There's nothing I've seen before or I even know where it is. Since I'll be in the area, well, I might as well hit these places that are somewhere in proximity. Yeah. Because that's where since I'm going to have to pay the flight to get down there anyway, I might as well take advantage and capitalize on that flight. I would say probably at some point, like when I went out west the first time, there were pictures I looked for that I had seen.
Oh, yeah.
And I found it. Like I did a long hike and I did find those places. It was really cool, actually. I mean, it was really fun.
No, and that's what's sweet about like that mapping feature. You can tag a location and whatever and find it like in the map and stuff. And, you know, I was even thinking about that earlier when you talk about Instagram. The recent, earthquakes and stuff in Turkey and Syria. Back in the day, it was just, I mean, you just watch whatever the news footage was on late night TV. Now it's like people's personal pages are sharing pictures all related to that. And you're like, wow, so it raises awareness in such a more simple, more realistic way. Right. Because it's like, you know, me sharing pictures of like, oh, this is the actual damage in addition to just what the news media
I don't have to rely on the news media is what you're saying. So if there's footage, it's liable to come from somebody's cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're planning your vacation, you're not looking at TripAdvisor's like pictures. You're looking at Joe Schmo and his family who were there last week taking pictures of the local restaurant and the beaches and the hotels. And you're like, oh, sweet. This is what it is.
Well, that's how if I wanted to go to the Kinzer Bridge in fall and I was wondering if the leaves fell yet, I could search the hashtag and there's probably going to be pictures up that day and I can see what it looks like right now.
So that's what's so cool about it. Right. And that's also in a lot of ways a huge danger of it because it's so immediate.
Right.
It's so immediate. And, you know, hypothetical story, you know, you could be a kid in school and spill your chocolate milk all over you and you're wearing it and someone like snaps a picture and they put it on their, Snapchat or whatever. And you're so embarrassed, you got to go to the office and call a ride home and get a change of clothes. And by the time you're even in the office, half the school already knows that this error you've already made. And it's like your embarrassment and humiliation is just through the roof because everyone already knows. You see what I'm saying?
That's what I'm hoping will happen to me, actually. So I think that's stinking hilarious. But if I was a teen, I probably wouldn't like it. But that's what I'm waiting for. Like, everyone sits around and films me walking across waterfalls because they want to see me fall so they can post it and make fun of me. You know what I'm saying? So this is like, especially in the family, like you want to see this kind of stuff where you're joking around and whatnot. So I do know what you're saying. Yeah, you can immediately post it and say, that's dang hilarious. But it's not in a school setting.
No, not for individual people. And I've had one-on-one conversations with school principals, and they're like, this idea of cyberbullying and all these issues on social media.
Right.
Parents are looking to me as principal for answers. Is like it's not at school. It's all late night at home. It's under your roofs, probably after you're in bed, and it's just like turn it off. That's not even social. That's a parenting issue at that point.
What you're saying is not even an immediate thing. I mean, they're using the phone as a weapon. They're beating on each other with that cell phone. Is what they're doing. They're bullying.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're using that.
It's not as I
It's
said.
not
That's
like
what
some
it's called.
funny
That's
thing happened. It's like some funny thing happened. You slipped in the hallway and somebody shared it because it was hilarious, and you probably would have done the same thing if you had caught it. We're talking about someone that. Yeah, I'm going to pick on them because their hair is this or they wore the wrong shirt, and I'm going to make fun of them, mock them, meme them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. All kinds of stuff. It is.
Right, so if you didn't have a phone, you wouldn't see it. So when you're 12 years old and you don't have a phone, you're not going to see it, and it's not going to be a problem. And I think sometimes ignorance is bliss. The stuff that you didn't see, you don't know. And I think that's true even of us as adults. Sometimes when you're not paying attention to who likes what, your stuff, not your stuff, then you don't know. And not knowing's okay. You know what I'm saying? Maybe sometimes, we don't need to be paying attention because it can get obsessive. And I think that if you have an obsessive tendencies anyway, which I certainly can have on certain things, maybe not always that, but I mean, I can think about stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Well, if you don't know, you're not going to think about it, right? So maybe for some of these young people not having this kind of stuff, they wouldn't be thinking about it in the first place.
Exactly.
But I like what Paul says. He said to the pure, all things are pure. And yeah, I mean, I think the phone can be pure. I think it can also be impure. But he also said not all things are beneficial. And he said, I'll be mastered by nothing. So when it comes to 1 Corinthians 6:12, I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything. I'll not be mastered by anything. So you have to look at yourself and say, was it really beneficial for me to be involved in these things? Is it really taking me in the right way? So I look at, a whole host of things that we need to be thinking about. And because when I look at the phone, I'm seeing, like you said, bullying, there's narcissism, constant comparison, hunger for validation, stuff that we need to be aware of. I don't need the world to validate me. I'll put up a reel, honestly, Eric. I've gotten to the point, and granted, I'm way grandfatherly in this kind of stuff compared to where these kids are at. The reel does well, great. It doesn't, great. Photo does well, great. Rather good, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just don't care because I'm not looking at these people for my validation. I'm going to put on something I like. So I'd made a decision a long time ago, like my page is going to be what I want to see, what I like. So when I go back, what my kind of, like you were saying, the phone's your memories of the last 5 years, whatever, you can go look through your feed and say, oh, I went hiking with my wife in the Allegheny Forest, and I just went back on my feed and I looked at the picture. You're not putting up the picture so a million other people are going to like it, and for validation, you can put up, if they did, great. But you look at it and say, no, that's what I want to see. So I put up pictures for me. Not that it's the best photo in the world.
Right.
No, that was a good time. I was with my friends and I want to remember it.
Yeah, no, and a big thing for people to remember is often social media is the highlight reel of their life, their week, month, whatever. So it's all their most proud moments, all the nice things they've seen. And that's where the comparison comes into. It's like, oh, I didn't get to go on vacation. You did. Oh, you got a new car. I didn't. And it's like this. I mean, that's
Pride.
where the comparison comes into, because you see everyone, how great everyone else is. This, that, the other thing is. It's like, oh, I don't have that.
Well, what I'm thinking about is just putting your phone away at a certain time. I think we have to evaluate at what age a kid gets a phone. I think that should be resisted as long as possible for the parents. My kids didn't get any phones until they absolutely had to be calling us from practice to let us know when they were done. So when absolutely we had to in sports and senior high, then we consider getting you a phone. I found that there are tons of problems there that are inherent with it, even back in the old days. All right, so I know that has not gotten better. But I would say for us personally, you know, you can read your screen time and say, well, what do I want my screen time to say? What am I doing about it? Because you and I have talked about shows before. Sometimes you want to get something done, you got to take, if you can improve it by 1% this day, 2% the next day, you just take a first step and just say, hey, I don't want it to be 8 hours. I want it to be 7 hours. Get it 7 hours. I want it to be 6 hours. You know, what can I do to limit this screen time? Maybe decide what you're willing to spend time doing with it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, what do I really want to invest my time into? And that to me would be,
Yeah. Two final thoughts from me. One, I gave up my phone for Lent from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Bill, I got an 8th day in the week, man. It's incredible, actually. I got like so much time in the evening. It's phenomenal. Second thing, a really great resource for parents would be the website Wait Until 8th. Okay. All about the concept of waiting till approximately 8th grade before you give your kid a cell phone. And it kind of breaks down like the child's development up until, I personally still think that's kind of young, but to each their own. But their like brain development, their social development has to develop before you add in a phone, because they're not ready for it until like a physical brain development, social development. So that's a really good resource for parents. Wait Until 8th, it's called. I posted a few times on the Eagleville Youth page some of their articles that I think are fantastic, and I think it's a really good resource.
That sounds awesome, dude.
For parents to look into.
Good
and
job.
As the Bible says, before you do something, you got to count the cost, because there are going to be drastic effects that you're not going to be able to undo once you go into it.
Count the cost of giving your kid a phone, not you counting the cost of giving up your phone 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Yeah. You're saying count the cost of like giving a kid a phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hear
Absolutely.
No, I think if you believe that only good is happening anywhere in this world, okay, and especially on that phone, you are so naive. There are so many people and creepers out there that are constantly fishing, constantly throwing compliments, constantly throwing offers. There's nonsense every day out there. Parents, beware. You need to pay attention. I think we need to set the good example as parents too, and not be bringing that phone to the table, not be having to be on it all night long, being open to conversation. And just like, I like it when I'm active because I'm not on the phone that much. Like if I'm hiking, I'm not really on the phone. So I'm doing something. Yeah. Where I'm a busy guy, like I like something to do all the time. So to me, it's good for me to be outside, be active, because then I'm not on that phone as much. But I do super appreciate you coming in and participating in the show, and I think it's an important one. So to me, if we do nothing else today, Eric, other than just food for thought, think about it. I think that's really all I'm asking. I'm not really doing this show because I'm asking for anything specific. I'm just asking you to think about it. You know, is it too much of our lives? Are we using it the way that we should be using it? And take that to the Lord and pray about it. You all have a great and a blessed week.